I guess I was sitting here. Yeah, of course you don't see it because I didn't hit go live. I just hit the countdown and I didn't hit go live. That was really goofy of me. But let me hit the thing again. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's try one more time. I was sitting here going, man, I hit the go button and I'm like, man, I know there's one other thing I need to push. And, my wife tells me sometimes she forgets stuff. She don't realize I forget stuff all the time too. I forgot to hit the go live button. So that's why we took a little longer than before. But what I was saying is my lion, y'all see my little lion picture in the background? He's got to go because Pastor Freddie's going to be remodeling everything around here, so she don't like my lion. Anyway, I was saying I have a lion here. I have a lion in my room. I guess I like lions. I guess I like the Lion of Judah. So anyway, man, listen. I hope you guys are doing well today. It is another Friday, another financial Friday, coming to you. Today, I want to talk about wisdom dollars. I call it wisdom dollars. And what does that mean, Pastor? Well, biblical wealth wisdom, just some simple wisdom. On next week's show, I think I'm going to talk specifically about how to start investing in stocks. I want to show you guys some things. I started a year ago because I knew I wanted to do a show for you guys on this. So I started a year ago doing some investments in Cash App because it's real simple. So I'm going to take some of what I did over the course of 1 year, which is very simple to do, and I'm going to show you because a lot of people say, Pastor, you talk about savings, you talk about not spending, but what about investing? I'm not an investment guru, but I'm also not dumb. I have a lot of wisdom. So there's some very simple things that we can do around investing to make money. And there's some very simple principle frameworks that you need to stay within that will ensure that you don't get hurt when you are investing. So next week, we're going to talk about that. This week, I kind of want to set the table a little bit for some of this wisdom around money, period. Because, I find that no matter how many times I talk about certain things, I still run into people that have been around me for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and they don't have no money saved. They're not consistently giving. They're not consistently saving. They're not consistently planning. And I'm just going to say it again. If you don't have a plan for your resources, the world does have a plan for your resources. And they work day and night. They strategize while you're sleeping to decouple you from your money. They want your money. They want to get your money. That's their number one goal. That is, how do we get, Comcast cable? How many of you guys got cable TV? Say I have cable in the chat. If you have cable, just say I have cable. Okay? If you have cable TV, the cable TV companies, I've been in the meetings. The cable TV companies, I've sold to cable TV companies. They sit there and they go, our base on average spends $131 a month on cable. How can we move that average from 131 to 137? See, they're not looking to move it a lot, just $6. Why? Because they have 1 million subscribers. If they can just get $6 more out of each one of you, it's $6 million more dollars of revenue for them. Are you listening to me? So they sit around and they'll spend $1 million in marketing, in advertising, to get you to buy one little upgrade, to get you to buy one little this or one little that. How do we appeal to them? How do we appeal to their buying signs, right? So that's what they do. They plan, they sit around and they plan how to get your money away from you. The car dealerships, same thing. How do we get them from buying the base model to the middle model? How do we get the people that buy the middle model from buying the middle model to buying the luxury model? How do we do that? I watched a guy do a thing the other day where there's this umbrella, and this particular umbrella costs between $500 and $800. It's an umbrella. And then he shows the umbrella at Home Depot. The golf umbrella is $29. They have the exact same purpose, to keep rain off of people. But one of them is $500, one of them is $30. What's the difference? Marketing. So people are constantly trying to dislodge us from our money. I constantly see people in my church, friends that I know, and I'm not just talking about poor or people that, let's just not call poor people, but let's say people that aren't well off, right? The bottom, so you have the low, medium, and high, right? I see high-end people do the same thing. I see people that make, $300,000 to $500,000 a year. Don't save any money. Don't think it's just poor people. Sometimes think just because they're no. There are people that have a good income, but it doesn't mean they're wealthy. They could be rich, but they're not wealthy. Rich people are people that buy. They have money and they buy what they want. Wealthy people invest their money and buy what they want from what their investments make. That's the difference between being rich and wealthy. Okay. So don't think that, because I see those folks as well. That's why when you deal with money, it's always best to deal with percentages and not dollars. Because as you go up, you start to think, that's why tithing is built, and God built it around percentages. Because, some of you that have made, let's say $50,000, and let's say, let me do the math. I haven't been at 50,000 in a while. 50,000 divided by 12 months is $4,000 a month. So your tithe would be $400 a month. How many of you know if you sow $400 a month in tithing, and all of a sudden you went from 50,000 a year of income to 500,000 a year of income? So let's look at 500,000 divided by 12. That's 41,000 a month is what 500,000 is. So 500,000 and 41 would mean that your tithe would be 4,100. So your tithe at 50 would be what your income was at 50. How many of you know that might be hard for you to do? So it's the same with savings. If you're saving a tenth, so you're saving at 50K, you're saving 400, you're saving 400, you're saving 400. But at 500K, and I hear some of you, you're saying to me right now, I hear you in the spirit. Well, Pastor, if I made $500,000 a year, tithing 10% and saving 10%, surely wouldn't be an issue. Yeah, that's what you think. Because what you don't realize is when you make $41,000 a month as making 500K, now you're going to pay half of that 41,000 in taxes. So that 41,000 becomes 21,000. And then when you put 4,100 away and you tithe 4,100, that's another 8,000. Now that 20,000 becomes 12. So now you made 50 and you got 12 to spend. See what I mean? So you got to use percentages because of the way that numbers plays tricks on you. Okay. So I want to show you a couple of things this morning. And I think when we talk about wisdom dollars and biblical wisdom in general, the number one thing that we have to do, and write these there's 4 little points I want to give you this morning. I'll let you go. Number one, we got to learn. I said all of what I said in the beginning for number one. Learn to live within your means. Learn to live within your means. Set priorities. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 7 says, the rich rule over the poor. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is the slave to the lender. You know, it's amazing to me is many people don't want to be controlled, don't want to be slaves, say they want to be free people and all that. They sure borrow a lot of money. I want you to get an inner image of this. Every time you borrow money, you're going to the master and you're saying, please put the shackles back on me. Every time you borrow money, you're going to the master and you're saying, please put the shackles back on me. That's what God said, because he said the borrower is a slave. Some of us don't like that word slave. If you really don't like the word slave, why don't you stop being a slave? Uh-oh. See, because you just can't be patient. We got to learn to live within our means, be patient, avoiding debt to maintain financial freedom and control over your life. That's why you avoid debt. You don't need to go to the buy here, pay here, and get a washer and get a couch. And I see people that don't have emergency funds out buying, they get their tax return. This is what broke people do. See, this is how you know you're broke. The first thing you do when you get your tax return, you go buy your kids all new clothes. This is how you know you have a poverty mindset. First thing you go do with your tax return, you go to Disney World. You go to Universal Studios. You go buy a new bedroom set. You have a party. You take everybody out to dinner. You're a slave. You have a slave mentality. Have you ever thought about acting like you didn't even get a tax return and taking that entire tax return and investing it? That way next year, watch this, next year, when you get your $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, you can take what you made off that tax return and you go buy yourself a new bedroom set. You can go take the kids and buy them clothes with somebody else's money, not your money. See what I'm saying? That's the difference. It's in the way that we think. We got to stop being, Freddie, can you give me a glass of water? We got to stop being consumer minded. So number one, we have to learn to live within our means. And what's very funny about Proverbs 22 and 7, if you read Proverbs 22 and 6, you know what it says before? It says, raise your child up in the way they should go, and when they get older, they will not depart from it. So it literally says, raise your kid up, learning about being debt free. Raise your kid up learning not to take on debt. Okay? Number 2, seek wisdom in financial decisions. Very few people ever come to me and say to me, matter of fact, I've never had, let me say this, been in ministry for a lot of years. How many years? We've been in Orlando over 10 years. I've never had one of my members come to me, never in the history of the church, had any of my members come to me and say, Pastor, I'm getting ready to get my tax return. Help me understand what I should do with it. Never had anyone do that. Never. Why is that? Because you don't want to hear what I'm going to say. So you don't ask me. You don't want to hear what I'm going to say. Never had anyone do that. So number 1, we got to seek number 2, we got to seek wisdom in our financial decisions. Proverbs 15:22 says, plans fail for a lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. I had a lady come up to me the other day in my church, and she said to me, hey, Pastor, I'm getting ready to do X, Y, Z, right? I'm getting ready to do this thing. This is what she tells me. She's actually coming to me because she kind of wants me to, I believe the reason why she came to me is she's throwing it out there because she wants to feel me out to see if I'm going to bless it or not, if I'm going to agree with it, if I'm going to think it's okay. So here's what I said to her. Hey, we have another member of our church, this person over here, and they've done the exact same thing that you're talking about doing. And they've been extremely successful. My counsel to you is before you make the decision, before you do that, go talk to this person, find out all the pros and all the cons to it, the pros and cons of doing this thing that they are going to go do. Go do that, and then make your decision. That was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I totally forgot about it till just now. I'm going to go to the person that I told them to talk to, and I'm going to see if they went and talked to them. I'm going to report back to you next week, but I'm going to tell you what. Let me just say this. I'm going to say at this point, I told it to 2 people, and I don't think either one of them have done what I instructed. I have the same situation with somebody in my church. Came up to me and told me about a job. Hey, I'm getting ready to go do blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? Well, I know somebody else in the church that did blah, blah, blah. My counsel to you is go talk to them before you make that decision. Again, I'm going to report back to you next week. I bet you that person didn't do it. See, people, what I come to find is people don't really want to be financially successful. I think people, and this is why I talk about money all the time, I think some of us enjoy being a loser. I think being a loser is easy. See, being a loser don't require any discipline. It don't require any hard decisions. It's easy to be a loser. Anybody can be a loser. But to be a winner, to be that's why finances are so important in the kingdom. That's why you'll see that nobody will ever be in leadership in our church unless they're a tither. Now, they may not be the most financially prosperous person in the world if they're a leader in our church, but one thing about it, they're definitely going to be tithers. Because I know ultimately if they're givers, even if their heart's a little funny, ultimately God protects the goose. And God ultimately, because he protected me, and I definitely was the biggest goof in the world when it came to money. But because God knew my heart, and because I gave, God protected me. What are you saying, Pastor? I'm saying people say they want to succeed, but they really, really, really don't. They just want to hear themselves talk. So in Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 22, the Bible says this, talking about wisdom dollars, plans fail for a lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. What's your key takeaway here? Well, it's real simple. We need to seek counsel and wisdom when it comes to financial decisions to ensure that our decisions are well-rounded, that we're looking at all the different things. Now, here's what I want to tell my married folks, especially my married men. Your first advisor you need to be seeking on finances, if you're going to start a business, if you're going to make a move, if there's something you're planning to do with your finances, is your wife. Everybody type your wife in there. Your wife. That's your first financial person you go to before you go to your pastor. Before you go to your friend that knows everything about finances. Before you go to your relative, you need to seek your wife. Why? Because your wife is your God-ordained help. And wives, if you're going to do something, you need to seek your husband. Why? Because y'all are one. Y'all are one. That's how that works. So number two, we need to seek financial advice. Number three, and I want to get to this before it's time to go, we need to value hard work. You know, I hear everybody always talking about, and I know you guys see it because you're on Facebook a lot, all these people trying to tell you about starting an LLC and having another stream of income and this and that. Let me tell you something. Forget an LLC. Forget another stream of income. Master what you currently do first. Become the very best. If you work at Publix as a bag boy, become the best bag boy at Publix. Become the most sought after bag boy at Publix. Get promoted at being a bag boy at Publix before you go worry about starting some business. Before you go worry about an LLC. Take the resources that you make as a bag boy and learn how to demonstrate that you can properly maintain those resources, that you properly can distribute those resources, that you can tithe 10% and save 10% off of those resources, that you can live within your means with those resources. Do that first before you go worrying about all these things. And you know what's really funny? I hear everybody talking about getting these LLCs all set up. And the one thing they always talk to y'all about is, why do you, somebody type in the chat, why do they tell you to set an LLC up? Let me see. What's the number one purpose for setting up an LLC? So you can get what? Type it in the chat. All these ads, all these people you see talking about businesses, they're telling you to set an LLC up, start your LLC. What's the purpose of why they're telling you to start an LLC? To obtain what? What's the goal? Go ahead, put it in the chat. Come on, I know some of y'all see this stuff. Come on, man. Y'all help a brother out here. What is the purpose that they tell you to start an LLC? Tell me. Put it in the chat. To get what? So they can be the CEO. Why do they tell you to get an LLC? Why? What's the number one thing they tell you you're going to be able to get once you get an LLC? Protection, be your own boss. Come on, what is it? Y'all still ain't in it. They all tell you about being able to get more credit. They all tell you about being able to get more credit. That's why they tell you to set these LLCs up. Well, here's my question. If you go out and get all this credit in an LLC, is the business really a success? You know, there is a thing when you start businesses called equity. It's another way to raise money. And guess what? With equity, you don't ever owe that money back. It's equity in your business. So they don't tell you about that because they're not really smart enough to figure that one out, right? Anybody can figure out how to get credit, guys. Come on. And credit, if you're having to get credit to start a business, it's probably a hobby and not a business. Okay? So what I want to tell you is we need to learn the value of working hard. We need to learn the value of savings. We need to learn the value of diligence. And we need to learn the value of the perfect timing. Again, master where you're at. Master what you're doing. Become the best at what you're doing. Learn how to manage your finances where you're at, and learn how to live within your means where you're at. If you're one of these people that get a lot of money on tax return, learn how to take one of your tax returns and invest it and manage it. Stop being in a hurry. Write that in the chat. Stop being in a hurry. And then lastly, generosity and giving. It's Financial Friday. We're going to give today, right? Second Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 and 7. It clearly tells us that God loves a what? Prompt to do it, cheerful giver whose heart is in his giving. You know, I think about a couple in our church, Alta and Leroy. They just started a business. These folks are almost retirement age, but they're starting a business. They're starting a business, I believe, for two reasons. Number one, they obviously want to leave a legacy for their family and their kids. Leroy believes heavily in prosperity. He actually wrote a book about it. He believes in generational wealth. So that's why they're starting a business. But again, at that age, retirement age, you start a business, and it's a physical business, right? But it shows they're not lazy people. But their number one reason is they want to give more to the kingdom. They want to be a financier of the Life Transforming Ministries vision. That's their goal. Their heart is to be generous, big givers. As a result of that, they're not borrowing money. They're taking their money that they've saved and they've invested, and they're using that money to invest to start a business. They could have just simply said, you know what? I'm good. We're just going to retire. We're going to chill out. We're going to enjoy life. But no, they want to give more. They want to be more generous. They want to leave an inheritance to their children's children. And they're in their, I don't know how old they are, but they're not young. And they're just starting a business. It's okay. You don't have to be in a hurry. But you know what? The business is going to succeed. Why? Because it's got the right foundation, folks. Foundation is important. Foundation is the key to financial success. So anyway, listen, I hope you've enjoyed the show today. I'm going to check in on those folks I told you about, and I'm going to report back to y'all next week. But remember, man, seek sound financial advice, number one. Number two, avoid debt at all costs. Avoid debt at all costs. Number three, don't be afraid of hard work. Hard work is a good thing. And number four, be generous. Listen, before I close today, if you're a lady, I'm going to close with a promo about Pastor Franny's Women's Conference. Let's be the women and let the men be the men. It's at the end of this month. I want everyone to sign up as soon as you can. There's a special promotion. You get the luncheon and the book at a discount. If you sign up now and you get them together, we're going to give you a discount. I think about 25% discount. That's saving money. If you know you're going to go, get it now. Anyway, watch the promo, share with a friend, invite a friend. This is going to be a great weekend. Starts on Friday, is on Saturday, and then it culminates on Sunday with Pastor Deborah. Love you. I love you. I love you. You guys have a great weekend. I'll see you Sunday. God bless.
Do you feel like you're juggling a million things? Tired and feel like something needs to change in your relationship? Do you want to feel loved and have a more fulfilling marriage? Well, I got something just for you.
Let's Be the Women Conference, an event you do not want to miss.
We really do have the power. The Bible says we have the power to build our homes or to tear it down. My intention is to dispel and undo years of lousy doctrine. So I'll be sharing some powerful insight from my new book, Let's Be the Women and Let the Men Be the Men. I want to help you navigate this thing with grace and wisdom. I'm so excited to meet you and teach you how to unleash your superpower. Ladies, you don't want to miss this. Be there or be square.